Hi, welcome. I'm Steve Damasco, Grand Master Shaolin Studios. Thank you for joining us again. I hope you've been enjoying our shows. There's a few things we're going to talk about today. First, you might be noticing that I'm wearing a different logo. No, I have not changed the name of the schools. That's one of the things I'd like to talk about. The logo actually says Citizens Against Terrorism. SDSS, our company, is the official training center for Citizens Against Terrorism. What it is an organization that I've started, and it's on GetCat. If you wanted to look at the webpage, it's on getcat.org, GETCAT.org. And it's a national organization to inform and educate people on the threat of terrorism in our country. As many people know, that I've been working with and have worked with the FBI for going on 15 years. I train their FBI SWAT teams, not all of them, but several of them. And I used to work in the area of school violence and gangs as a consultant and an actual spokesperson for the Bureau. After 9/11, I was living in New York with my sons and my whole family, as a matter of fact, during when 9/11 hit. And I was actually on my way in to have a meeting with Barry Morn. Barry Morn was the assistant director for the FBI for the country at the time. It's a very interesting story, and I think I will share it with you. He was the assistant director for the FBI at the time, as I said. There are two major offices there for the United States besides Washington, D.C., and they have the highest concentration of FBI agents in the world. Those two areas are New York City and California. So Barry Morn was stationed in New York City as the assistant director for the country. I've been friends and had been working with Barry Morn, who actually came out of the Boston office. But prior to that, he was the New England, what they call the SAC, which is the special agent in charge, but in charge of all the New England states. He got promoted for his many years of good service and dedicated service that the FBI has given us, which is just incredible. Incredible men and women. I just can't begin to tell you the number of people and friends I've made over the 15 years and how dedicated. They certainly don't do it for the money. How dedicated they are to preserving our freedom and preserving our way of life, which we all know changed on 9/11. I was on my way in to have a meeting with Barry because, again, I was still working pretty heavily with school violence and gangs at that time, and Long Island was, as many of the states are having a big problem with that. And I was on my way in for a meeting to meet with Barry. And in the 12, 13 years at that time that I had been friends and working with Barry Morn, I had never canceled a luncheon with him at any time because he's a very busy guy. He's got a lot of responsibilities in charge of, well, either New England and now the New York City office and for the whole country. And I was on my way in to meet with him. And I was within 20 minutes of being in New York City and actually at his office at headquarters in New York. And I don't remember exactly what had happened, but I was overwhelmed that day. And I just called Barry up. I said, Barry, I can't make it today. I just can't do it. I've got all this stuff going on. Let's reschedule. Barry said, of course, we were friends too. He said, fine, no problem, Steve. I turned around and went back into Long Island, into Smithtown, where I was living. 20 minutes later, they hit the Twin Towers. Now, the ironic part about that is nothing ironic about it, but what was interesting is that I would have been with Barry when that hit. What had happened when they hit the Twin Towers, the entire federal building was evacuated, and they were actually going from place to place looking for shelter because at that time, again, nobody knew what had happened. No one knew what had happened. All we know is we didn't even know it was an act of terrorism, obviously, when that first hit. We just know that jet had flown into the Twin Towers, and then several minutes later, a second jet had hit the second tower. And he was with Giuliani and a handful of other people when they evacuated. Barry told me this story, so you're getting it directly from me. Barry had told me this story later. And what had happened was they were going from building to building looking for shelter because there was debris and smoke and everything was all over the place. As you know, it was the debris was destroying other buildings. And they wound up in a building that wound up being totally pitch black. And Barry said, again telling me the story, that he had said, to Giuliani and the other people that he was with, said, we need to get out of this building. I don't feel safe here. I got a bad feeling. This is a true story. And Giuliani and others said to him that, you know what, I think we're fine here. I think we're fine. Because other buildings, several blocks away were being destroyed from all the debris. And Barry said, look, we got to go. We've got to get out of this building. I'm telling you, I got a bad feeling. Well, they were looking for their way out, and they couldn't find their way out, and then finally they saw a light from a fireman that had a light in that building, and he led them out of the building. Literally, Barry said 5 minutes after they left that building, the building was destroyed, and they would have been dead, all of them. Again, everybody was affected, the whole country, but, I was there, I saw it, I saw the smoke even from Long Island. Barry is a very close friend of mine to this day, and I knew the agent that got killed, O'Neill, that got killed in the Twin Towers. He was an FBI agent, and what's ironic, this is really incredible story. The O'Neill that got killed, he was hired to be. He was retired from the FBI, and his job was to be head of security for the Twin Towers. He got an incredible job. But prior to that, for almost 15 years, he was for years, I don't remember the exact number of years, but for years he was tracking bin Laden. He was in counterterrorism, and he was tracking bin Laden. That was his job. And now he retired from the FBI with 20 plus years of dedicated service, and now he's in the Twin Towers the first week on the job, and he didn't make it. And, with all of that and the FBI agents that I was friends with and people, that had passed away in that horrific, attack, I started to get involved in in terrorism and understanding it. And because of my security clearances, I would go from seminar to seminar and learn more about it. And every seminar that I went to, and it was, again, for only law enforcement people that was privileged to go, they said that they need citizen participation. So I started asking around, and this is a 3-year project of what is suspicious activity? If I ask you, what is suspicious activity? Not many people can give me educated answers to that. I'm sure there are people that can, but a lot of people cannot give you an educated answer to that because they don't know. And the second thing is that if you had to call somebody, if you did see something, who would you call? Most people say 911. In New York City, that would be a good one to call, but it might not be the quickest route to getting an effective law enforcement person there to do what needs to be done. Local police have been trained and they are educated, but there are other agencies that would prefer to get that call direct. And it would, depending on the situation, might be a little bit more effective that are dealing with nothing but terrorism. So I said, you know what? We need to create an agency, a nationwide agency that can educate people, really educate them on what terrorism is and how it affects us and what these people, these terrorists, these Al-Qaeda people, these jihads, okay, what they're really trying to do in this country. And to be honest with you, I get information and I go to these seminars and I'm affected mentally for days after that, because if you really knew what they were trying to do and what they're doing here and how they worked so hard to be able to infiltrate our entire society, our entire system, we would all want to take more of responsibility and be the eyes and ears. So I've created Citizens Against Terrorism, and again, you can look at it, the one-pager. I'm having a very extensive website built as we speak that'll be launched within the next 3 months. But right now, if you want to see the one page and kind of get an idea of what we can do and what I'm going to do, it's getcat.org. So I'm very excited. It's sad that this has to happen, but I'm very excited about being able to bring this information to the nation, to the country, and educate them and give them a phone number that they will be able to call directly. And our agency will immediately, we're not going to decide what's good and what's bad, immediately we will have the number to call in that specific city that will get directly to the people that need to get that phone call. I'm very excited about this, and at the same time, you know, it's a sad situation that this has to be done. But they're here to stay, and they're growing in numbers by the thousands on a daily basis. So we need to protect ourselves. We need to get educated. We need to know how this affects our own businesses. There are agents right now, and I'm going to say one more thing and then I'm going to stop this conversation, but there are agents right now that do nothing but go to businesses where they make certain things that could be used to make a vest or make a bomb, that these people don't even realize that some of the materials that they're producing are not really definitely not for that. But those materials can be used to do bad things. And these agents do nothing but go to these kind of companies around the country, and they're limited. In the entire United States, we have approximately 12,000 FBI agents. It's the top comp. It's the most difficult job to get. Less than 5% of the people even get accepted that apply, and then once they get accepted, less than 2% make it. So it's incredible. They are the top cop. They're incredibly trained, and you know, we only have 12,000 of them. So for the whole United States, and now the FBI is in other countries. Prior to that, it was the CIA that handled everything outside the United States. Now the FBI has a presence in all of these countries that need protection and are threatening to us. So having said that, you know, that's what we do. I know I was getting back to the companies. So these FBI agents will go around to these different companies around the country and say, look, you're producing a material, okay, not for this that can do damage, but this is what they use this for. If you see any orders that are out of the ordinary, okay, or you don't recognize the company, or it's a new company that they're existing, because what they do is individuals don't do this. They set up to get these materials in bulk. They will set up dummy companies that if you do an internet search on them, it'll show up on Google. They're very smart. They're very technology-wise, they're brilliant. And that's how they're communicating. So, and that's how they're setting up these dummy companies to be able to go and get these supplies and then order them. So, again, this is just one of the areas that we will be able to educate the nation on and people on so that we can protect our families, because that's what it comes down to. Thanks for listening to that. And then again, it's called CAT, Citizens Against Terrorism, and our company is going to be the official training centers for this.